Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Boom Bar on your Boom Radio NG. My name is Shola Rogers, and I bid you a warm welcome to another special edition of the bar. The regular bar starts at 3 p.m., but whenever we're in the presence of greatness, whenever we are honored to have an august visitor, even if it's the month of March, even if it's the month of March, Tokumbo, right?
Yes.
Yes, we are really.
We always go beyond the beyond.
Yes, we go. We have to, because we know that at the end of the day, based on experience, you want to spend time with people like the person we have in studio. For me, as a young person growing up watching TV, I was privileged to catch him on TV a couple of times. A few years down the line, I was even more privileged to. I've worked kind of closely on one or two projects, and I gleaned. You see passion, you see organization, you see how people bring experience to bear. You know, it's not every time you're just going to be using force. You use experience, you use skills, and one thing that he has is a calm spirit. That you cannot take away from him. And if I am allowed to, I would say that this is another great day in my life that we're able to invite such a person to the studio.
Same
I'm going to let Tokumbo Jekule take over from here.
Same here, Shola. For many years, you'll be shocked. Let me tell you straight. I have known this great personality. We met on the job many years back, and we did so many wonderful projects together. And in every way, you said you saw him and you gleamed to him. I got stuck with him and his style. And I was not the only one, by the way. I thought I was the only one initially. And when I got back to where I was working then, I realized that virtually everybody had passed through him, so to speak.
Yes.
So I was talking to Ayo, I talked to Leke, and they said, "Oh, how we know you know NTA 7." I said, "Wow, you also know." I was too happy to show him off, in every way. A golden fish has no hiding place.
No, it doesn't. I'm talking about people who pass through him. In my area of core competence, or shall I say, area where I am very comfortable in, I can function everywhere, which is sports journalism. This man has like a conveyor belt that has produced people that have worked with him, people that a lot of people look up to today and say, this guy is fantastic. Yes, we know he is. But there's a reason why he is fantastic. And you know how I gleaned something off the Americans. They say that someone is standing on someone's shoulder. And we know whose shoulder it is. He must have broad shoulders, though. Yeah. So, without further ado, I'm sure Ogutai is going to have our head for this. I know.
No, we have not even started yet. We're about starting. We're revving. We are revving.
Without further ado.
Yes, I like Boom Bar to welcome officially today the Veterans Showcase. A Nigerian, a passionate Nigerian, a sports enthusiast, a broadcast journalist, who many years I wondered why isn't he permanently behind the microphone, and I can't even remember his reasons for not giving me a proper answer. But here I'm going to ask him. Everywhere you are in the diaspora, everywhere, let us pay tribute to a Nigerian who has paid his dues and still counting the ages and numbers and looking younger than ever. I want to say Mr. is just too small for me to hold, but I will say it. Tayo Balogun is our guest today. And wherever you are, just be free to have a chat with him or give us questions you want to ask him. Mr. Tayo Balogun, when the end credits of programs are being rolled in those days when we were young, there were a few names you would capture. And the next day, the same name is coming up. The third day, somebody's asking, are these people the only ones working here? The names are always on the scroll. So it's our pleasure on Boom Radio to welcome Mr. Tayo Balogun. And I'm going to say I'm so happy to be here. And it's in the memoirs already that Shola and I are doing this with him. you are welcome to this show.
Are you talking about me?
I just knew something. I knew something
I was
would
waiting
come
for
up.
the person to come in.
I just knew something would come out. I knew something would come out from this.
Oh, I think that's absolute flattery, and it doesn't get anybody anywhere.
But today,
I really wasn't sure you were
you are
referring to
locked
me.
inside the studio with us.
Well, thanks for those kind words. Even if I feel quite flattered, I mean quite embarrassed, really, because I guess you will get 2 or 3 steps too kind. Thank you very much, all the same.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm glad to be here. I've always wanted to associate with anything that involves Shola Rogers and Tokunbo Jekunle, because these are the 2 people, these are some of the people I respect in the industry, and very partial towards people who have done our industry proud, and do continue to do them proud. And anything they want to get involved in, I'm always ready to stand by them.
Thank you very much.
For the kind words as well.
Exactly. Exactly. And of course, for those of you who are used to the boom bar, and if you don't know what it is, let's just break it down to you. Boom bar basically is where we kick back, relax over a few drinks, and we talk music, sports, politics.
I hope you're not going to tell them I'm taking a bottle of stout.
No. Is that
You just
actually,
revealed it.
I just thought it was.
You just said it now.
I said drinks. I actually thought it was the other black one.
Which of them?
Malt.
Yeah. That's what I thought it was.
Okay.
I think that's what it is.
But you served him.
Yeah, I did.
You did.
Yes, and we were pouring something into the cup.
I thought it was our butler that handled that.
Butler.
Our butler. We do have a butler, don't we?
Oh, we do.
Oh yeah.
We do.
So of course, yes, we have the malt.
Yeah.
I have my sparkling water.
Mm-hmm.
Tokunbo Jekunle has his bottled water.
Always.
And sparkling water. People ask me at times, what's in this cup? Today, Sha, let me be honest with you, it's gin and tonic. Gin and tonic.
Good combination.
Yes, that's what it is. At times I have a little bit of time on my hands. There's lime and lemon added to it, and it gives it that nice flavor. You know,
it completes the bar.
Oh, yeah. So we're at the bar. We have the drinks. We have the guys, like we say in quotes, and of course, a whole lot of things are happening in and around us in our world: music, sports, politics, and everything in between. We go international. We also talk about things that are happening that are topical. But the main reason why we're here today, of course, is we also want to talk to our senior colleague. If it was in the white garment churches, they would say most senior.
I was going to add the most senior.
Yeah, most senior. Most senior.
Are we going to drop all this?
Sir, one of the reasons why we're actually playing around this is that recently on live TV, we saw a colleague talk down another colleague who she was in the field reporting live to the studio, and the older colleague in the studio got angry that she kept on calling him by his first name. And I thought that was what we do on air. In fact, I relish the fact that I can call Tokunbo.
Even when you go beyond.
Hi, Tokunbo. How are you, Tokunbo?
No, fine, really cool.
So I don't know what are your thoughts on that.
You see, I was embarrassed. I mean, and wow. I've had cause to talk to the bosses of the person you're referring to.
Yeah.
Because I do a lot of no spoken on issues that relate to my profession. And the way they were doing their program, I've had cause to say this is not the way to do it. But the bosses told me that, what do I know?
Wow.
Yes, about broadcasting. And incidentally, this lady does not know anything about her profession. She just caught into it from the newspaper world and was thinking that she knows everything. So I kept quiet. But I remember at the editorial meetings in NTA Ibadan, there's the youngest boy, the least qualified in terms of qualification. But he's always the first to attend the editorial meeting because the editorial meeting gives him a chance to call everybody first name. So, and this guy, when we're together and something, we're discussing something serious, he raised up his hand. They say, okay, yeah, Tai, what's the problem? He said, yeah, Balogun. That's the name of our manager name. He said, yeah, Balogun, as I was saying. And everybody would say, what's funny? Is his name not Balogun?
Exactly.
You see, we got to call ourselves by our first name.
Yes.
I mean, we take joy in it. And nobody is going to say Mr. or whatever.
Nah.
I mean, it's a reflection, it's a sad reflection on the broadcast industry. No matter what anybody says, that type of thing would happen.
Life.
And because we grew up in a tradition where everybody is supposed to be equal. We're supposed to, what the French people call se tutoyer. We call ourselves by our first name. We use the singular instead of the plural. But again, some people have branched into the profession. Incidentally, they are taking it over.
Yes.
And unless we rise up to put things in shape, it's going to be like this.
It will become a thing of the past. We will talk about it in the past.
Yes.
This is what it used to be, as against this is what it should be.
I will start saying scientists talking about Jekunle.
What a bad way to start. But you know, something happened. You talked about editorial meetings. Perhaps we should just kick off from there. Editorial meetings at where they have it at NTA Ibadan.
Yes.
In those days, they always put the "in those days" after it. Okay, what are we losing by not regularly maintaining the consistency, particularly of the editorial meetings? We tend to have walked past those things because it's not reflective in our performances on air, particularly these days.
And that's because standard in the country has dropped. Just about everything has fallen. Just about every standard has fallen. It's not, with the soldiers, it's not what it used to be. With the police, it's no longer what it used to be. In medical profession, that's where you see people who should not even get close to the stethoscope, wear it and do a lot of nonsense about it. We in the broadcast media, it's something that I got so. I have a peculiar story. I went to the University of Ife right from secondary school. I was a boy at Ife. I mean, I loved the experience. It developed everything about me. And then when I went to NTA Ibadan, it's also something that your humanity. We used to have something. You don't have to be mad to work here. But it helps.
It helps.
If you're mad. We do everything to get what we need to get in. And the fact of the case is that there are standards. If you run a leader is this thing that doesn't happen any longer. I mean, we call it a leader in those days, but it is this countdown, 1, 2, 3. If you run a leader before the film starts, you're in trouble. You go on 2 weeks suspension, is gazetted. If you use a wrong caption, you go on 1 week suspension. If you take the picture of Shola and say it's Tokumbo, you go on a week suspension.
These things were documented.
They
were standard.
So you know what you have done. I mean, you don't even have to.
No excuses.
There was a day I slapped a colleague of mine, and immediately after slapping her, I had to go and pack my dress, and they said, "What's the problem?" I said, "Of course, I know it's a 2 week suspension." And incidentally, I was called back the day after. The general manager called me back and said, he knows me and this lady were friends, and that I didn't fight her because of something personal. I was fighting her to get my job done, and that we have a maxim that says you don't have to be mad to work here, but it helps. You know, and he said because of that he was going to tell them to warn me and tell me to put my emotion in check. But I was always very passionate about getting things done. I mean, I was going to fail. What happened was I allowed her to use my allotted time, part of my allotted time, to do to finish her program.
Yeah.
She finished her program and did the second one.
No.
And she kept on posting me and say, look, I'll just give me 10 more minutes. And then somebody came to tell me that, look, this is the second recording she's doing. So I just got mad. I stopped that recording. She came out. The first thing I did was to slap her. And immediately I knew that I was going on suspension. But I mean, that's what it is. There are standards, there are ethics. You know, once you break a law, you know you're going to pay for it. And you can't even miss the editorial meetings. You can't, because every production was going to be analyzed, x-rayed, and it's a group of equals. Some people will go to that editorial meeting to say that I'm going to bring Tukumbo down. I mean, and they will do everything. They will take your bulletin, tear it to pieces. I remember when I was writing a shift, when we finished our production, news production, and I said, look, let's meet for 10 minutes. Anybody who will make them talk down on me tomorrow at the editorial meeting, the person is in trouble. So, I mean, and the way...
let's cover all the bases now.
Yes. And that's what it used to be. But when you look, people even take pride in not knowing. But yesterday I had somebody in a station that is a Yoruba person calling this minister for digital whatever.
Issa Pantami.
Issa Pantami say, pardon me.
Yeah.
And I just wonder.
I can imagine.
I just wonder. I mean, did she do any research?
Research. Did you even ask your colleagues around how is
in those days? It's not going to be possible. Any name you come across, you take times to
verify. You must ask.
Yes, but now nobody cares, and they take joy. I mean, somebody who's Yoruba calling a Yoruba name with some funny accent, and they will call that broadcasting. And that's a shame that do you know in BBC Sports, you know what happens is that at the beginning of the session, they send the camera out to all the first team players. They will call their names
by themselves. And you record it.
And they record it, and then they give it to all the commentators to say this is the correct way. That's why they get it right. But here we take pride in not wanting to get it right.
We think it's funky thing. We think it's like it's cool. It's cool to be wrong with pronouncing someone's name.
Yes. That's the sad part of it. But we're talking about editorial conferences. Editorial conferences died so many years ago when there's a proliferation. And we have a politicization of the broadcast industry. We had an NBC that is at the moment being run by a politician, being headed by a politician, and is proud to say that he's a member of a ruling party.
Yeah. And
I wonder what standard is going to bring about. I wonder what he's going to talk about. They've recently rolled out a series of laws about broadcasting, and they didn't involve the broadcasters in the crafting of the laws.
Yes, you know something. You were talking earlier, and I reflected a bit about. It took me back to the school days. When you're going off the track as a student, somebody's there with a whip to put you back on track. Even if the person doesn't hit you with a whip. Now we have regulatory body for the media, let's say electronic media. But before we get to the regulatory body, we already have controllers, directors in place, managers in place. Now, the way you bring it out to me now is like, is everybody sleeping, or they don't know, or as a maxim yet that they say, he who does not know that he doesn't know, or doesn't care in any way. It's worrisome. What's your sense about that?
I'm not even going to say it's the proliferation, because even if there's proliferation, there will be some good ones, there will be some bad ones. But a falling standard is just what I will attribute it to. Nobody cares any longer. Nobody worries about what our values are stunted. You want to call England, they say Jant. I mean, I would never call Nigeria Niger. I will never, because I think it's a corruption. And by the time we keep corrupting all the things and not saying it the way they should be said, we'll be getting the values that comes with the name. If you, if our language is stunted, our growth will be stunted. If we do whatever we're not, if we start, look, I told one gentleman who came to my house wearing torn jeans. I told him to go back. He was surprised. I said, look, I hope in your life you will not wear rag. You will not, I told him in Yoruba, I hope in your life you will not wear akisa. That in the time I was growing up, when your dress is torn, the people look bad down on it. You don't want to, not wearing akisa is a prayer that everybody prays for you. But
now it's a fashion statement.
Now you take it to mean you are with it. So that is what is our problem. There are no standards any longer. People who, spiritually I want to call them people from down below. We have invited them up to our class, and we are allowing them to influence our standards. The Yoruba language, I think, is very, very rich. When they call somebody Omali, it means that this person is different from us.
It's deep.
It's different from us. It's not like the father. It's not like the mother. He's brought in something that is not what we accept. And we are here. We are clapping for those people. We don't have standard. We don't. When somebody steals, we
celebrate
it.
it.
We don't say, I mean, I told you I've always respected you and Shola Rogers, as from what I see from you, that you are the people who I feel will bring some light into our profession. People who have always. What brought you to be able to put this together is a desire for class. It's not necessarily a desire to make money. It's a desire to do things that you think should be done and done properly. But we lost it as a nation because we allowed the nincompoops to take control. And we are not only, instead of condemning them, we are applauding them.
So, we have some very young people that actually work here too. They come in as independent producers and broadcasters. There's there's a particular program that they have that I also feature in from time to time. And every time I talk, it's almost as if I am a relic. And how old am I, you know? I look at them and I'm saying, no, you see, no, this is possible because we used to do it back then. Like, for instance, growing up in Surulere, I remember when they used to fumigate the gutters. I remember clearly on Adisabasha Street where we grew up, they used to fumigate our gutters and sweep the street. They had those machines, they were sweeping the street. Not even women with these long brooms. They actually had those machines, they were sweeping our streets. So I was telling them about that one day and they looked at me like,
what's going on?
are you talking about London? I said, no. I'm talking about Lagos, Nigeria, right here, under your very noses. You know, and you've made reference to standards dropping, which means that the standards were high before.
Very high.
And the reason why I brought this analogy in is to say that, of course, you are from another generation that we grew up to meet. With your kind indulgence, we would like to go back so that we can actually establish all these things. The real reason why we're doing this is good content. Or when people come across it on the internet, they'll say, oh, Tayo Balogun of Bonvita Sports fame or whatever. Yeah, we get it. But the real reason why we're doing it also is to pass knowledge. So that people will understand that some of these things, people are not just complaining. They know what it was, they know what it used to be, and they know what it should be. I did a little bit of digging. I'm like, oh man, Uncle T grew up in Lagos. Ebute Meta, this one. I said, this is good. Because again, we would like to establish how it was growing up for you. You know, again, the kind of job that your dad did, which also meant that it was traveling or it was meeting different people. You were also, we would like to go to the back to establish what it was like growing up, what Lagos was like, and what it is now. The differences between all of those things. Then eventually we'll be able to drive back to where we were about standards dropping and what we can do to bring the standards back up?
Your memories of Lagos.
Yes, you see, I love Lagos, and because I grew up loving my growing up, we didn't have much to do. At the time I was growing up, television was getting introduced, and only very few people have access to it then.
In their homes.
In their homes, we were not so lucky to have in our home at that time. But we keep going to the window to look in and they'll be kind enough to allow us.
Now, I said here once, I think it was here I said it, that I used to get a lot of flogging these days because we stand by the window of the person of the house next to us and we watch, and when your father comes in, silently greets you and goes inside to wait for you, and as you come in, after beating you, he tells you, you go there one day, and they say they are looking for their shirts.
Where would you?
How would you absolve yourself of this blame?
Well,
For me, it was the video. It was the video set.
Yeah.
For my generation, it was video because not everybody had the video player. So, and again, even when you had it at home, you didn't have access to it.
They didn't have access to it, yes.
Growing up, there was this TV set. What was this thing called again? It was like a contraption, one wooden, where the TV is in one box, the video player is locked up in one container.
Okay.
My dad had drinks behind one glass. You know, so those things were like ornaments, and you liked them.
Yes.
But you didn't have access to that video
No,
box.
You won't. So that's the culture we grew up in, and the little we picked from television, we act out. We had programs like Rin Tin Tin, Rawhide, Kid, this kid, I've forgotten his name now.
Flintstone.
Kisco Kid. Kisco Kid, Lone Ranger, and all things like that.
I remember Lone Ranger.
And we act Indian when we don't watch their television. We act our own part of the movie. By some people will play Indian, some people will play policemen.
Yeah, cowboy and Indian.
Cowboy and Indian, and then we were that was
we had your guns and
and sometimes we tell tales by moonlight. One auntie will come and say, "Oh yeah, Babo," and they will tell us stories, and then we will open our mouth watching. And sometimes we go in front of the house and stay and watch all the cars. You say you are LD, you are LC. And then you start saying, hey, LD1.
It was a game.
It was a game, and it becomes time for your parents to call you, yeah, come inside. And then we go to sleep. The next day starts. It's something that...
quite nostalgic.
Yes, it is. And in those days, we had only one man they called Jabrata. I think it's a myth, but I'm not too sure if it's not. It's the only thief. I'm not even going to call him robber.
Is it Jabrata?
Jabrata.
He's not too close from Jaguda.
No, it's Jabrata. Because he steals something.
Yes.
He steals and he will come and pack everything in the shop and go. And nobody will be able to stop him. So they call him Jabrata. Now, there's only one deviant in the society, Tiger Pedro. Is known for using his hand to hit a lady, and then the lady will follow him.
Wow.
So those are the things. Those are the two deviants. The thieves that called then are those who will put stick to rake through the window, rake some of the dresses, and and it is not. My father particularly would tell me. I was living at 152 Clifford Street, now Muritala Mohammed.
Okay.
And he would say, look, I know what the man in 154 does. I know what the man in 156 does. I don't know I don't know where the man in 158 works. This one works in PWD, this one works in Nigerian Railway, this one works in ECN. I don't know where that man works. So I don't want you to associate with the kids. Don't go there under any condition. And it's law. We never will go there. When we want to play, we go to the local football field or we go to Evans Square.
Yeah.
And they know where to pick us. We play, then we play tennis, table tennis. And those are the sports we get involved in. And when we were going to school, I was going to Akinwumi Street. I didn't need to I was going from Alagomeji to Akinwumi Street. I didn't need to take Scully.
Okay, that's a bus.
That's a bus. I didn't need to take Scully.
What was the bus called?
Scully.
Scully. I like this.
So we would, and sometimes they give me 2 kobo. And sometimes I don't use it for anything.
The 2 kobo, you meant 2 pence.
Yes, 2 pence. 2 pence, yes, okay, yes, 2 pence. And then we use it to buy egg and to play tukuniya. You put your egg there and then they eat it and then you put.
That game is that old.
Yes, it is.
We played that game.
You played that.
So I mean, this was the type of thing. This was the type of childhood. My best friend was an Igbo boy. My mother would tell me, I mean, after some time, because when I go there and I eat with him, I won't be able to eat after.
Then you get home.
So she told me, don't go there to eat. So I went there and I wasn't eating. The mother said, why are you not eating? I said, my mother said I should not. So she just came straight to my house and said, you told and your friends, actually, you told your son not to eat in my house. I said, yes. I mean, because when he comes home,
He won't eat
eat his
anymore.
own food. So they reached an agreement. I will eat in Moibo's house. That's what they call them. I happen to know that it's Uche. I will eat in his house and he will come with me to my own house. And it was the Civil War that made him to go home. And one of the sad memories I have of the Civil War is that since he went, I've been searching everywhere for him. I've not been able to get in touch with him. I've not been able to make contact with him. But he was like a brother to me.
What was his surname?
Uche, we don't worry about
It was just first
No,
name basis.
First name, yes.
we call him even Amoibo.
And then, because I know now that the way things change in this world that we live in, now if you say Omoibo, people see it as derogatory.
No, yes.
But then it was a term of
distinction.
endearment. Like, oh,
Yes,
this is my friend,
distinction.
or he's Igbo, me, I'm Yoruba, he's Hausa.
We will eat from somebody who is doing Sarah. We'll eat.
We'll eat together.
We'll eat together. They'll cook rice. We'll eat. We'll cook.
You know the difference between the Christian and the Muslim, yeah.
And that's the type of thing we grew up with. That's the type. There was no distinction.
So tribalism then wasn't as pronounced as it is.
No. NCNC was winning. I mean, in Lagos, and it wasn't.
NCNC, that's a party.
Yes, sorry, I should have spelled that out. NCNC was a party. For Zik, it was Zik's party, and the action group was for Awolowo. And there were more Yorubas in Lagos than Igbos. So, but again, they would win. And it's not something that I remember one day. Luwale Awolowo lost an election. I was and he stood like this and was shaking his head. You know that. I mean, that's what it was. I mean, it wasn't as if you're going to break your head. It wasn't as if you're going to die trying to get a result that you. But the rigging aspect of it came later on. And everybody imbibed the culture of rigging.
And he has stayed with us.
It has stayed with us, yes. I mean, and the annoying part of it was that they were trying to foist it on one group, on one particular party, but it is every one of them. Because I remember when I was covering politics, covering election in, I think the first time after the military, and I went to Bomosho. I was supposed to cover Ibadan, Bomosho, Ilorin.
All by yourself?
Yes, it was a smooth.
This was for the NTA then?
Yes, for the NTA Ibadan. It was smooth sailing. The type of hiccups we have in terms of the roads, we don't have it. You could go to Ilorin and come back to Ibadan before 7. And stopped.
What period was this? What year was this? Around what time?
70. During the Obasanjo supervised.
That's 79.
79 years. So there was this particular day. I set up from Ibadan. I went to part of Ibadan, went to Bomosho, then went to Ilorin. When I went to Bomosho, which was a European state. I mean, a European person was there, and because he's friendly with me, I went there. They took me. They said, "Oh no, Daddy has gone to the field. He's not there. He's not back." So I went to London to do some coverage. As I was coming back, I branched into the house, and the boy was so excited that I came back. So he took me up to meet the father upstairs, and they were thumb printing.
They were thumb printing.
Yeah, they were thumb printing ballot papers.
Oh.
And then the man said,
Join us.
No, not join us. He
Okay,
took me down. He took me down. And when the European was going to talk, they said it was MPN that was rigging the election. But again, it's a situation whereby they are both best of the same feather. They were always playing together.
But you know something, curiously, I've always been meaning to ask this question. I think over it over time. I do not know how we invented thuggery into politics. I think about it. I remember the weekday days, way back, okay, where we had people fighting each other, political issues and all that. Can we really trace that aspect of us? Because it's all about our attitude, our character, our vision, our input in society. It marvels me.
I won't be able to tell you I know precisely how Toby got in, but I could tell you about some of the things that led to it. We had a situation where people became intolerant. People became overzealous. People became unforgiving, and they kept on not being able to solve whatever differences there are. From some of the things I got to know, the crisis in the West, which those people who are clamoring for return to parliamentary system of government. They forgot what happened, because in those days, people will, and we are seeing some of it in this cross carpeting now again. In those days, you just wake up, and then before you know it, this person will be action group in the morning, in the afternoon is NCNC. And people's will are being truncated, and everybody was gloating about it. They did it to Zik when Zik won in Ibadan, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, became action group. And the intolerance of party leaders was always going to be. And when they were talking, they were always using incendiary words, trying to abuse you in such a way that you probably would want to fight back.
Yeah.
And so the type of things that
those were the days of Akitola.
Yes.
The orator.
Yes.
It was that same period that we had weekday.
Yes, that was what led to it. That was what led to it, because at that time, the I've forgotten.
Northern People's Congress.
No, I know Akintola's party, NNDP. NNDP associated with the NPC. And then they truncated the will of the people. And by saying that, some people took the laws into their hand, and they started, and it got to say there was a time I told my two daughters that none of them would marry somebody from Ondo, because they are the ones who are Ondo and Nikiti.
I apologize on behalf of my older people. You know, this thing that you said, sir.
Were you hit by that?
No,
Okay.
I'm not. I wasn't there, so
I wanted to.
it's all right. It's okay. My mom, actually, my parents, both of them are from Ondo town.
Okay.
And I know we've had this discussion like a million times. And I know that we have relatives who lost their properties, who lost, in fact, some people lost their lives because of their association with a certain party. While the people wanted to go a certain way, like they felt it was wrong, and the only thing they could do was to resort to violence. I get it very well, and most times when I relate with my brothers and sisters from that side of town, when I see they're getting agitated, I'm like, okay, it's not that deep. If and only if we didn't go the violence route, maybe we wouldn't have found ourselves where we are now.
We wouldn't have been here. We wouldn't have been here because the fact of the case is that when truth dies, it kills so many things.
Yeah.
People are not ready to obey the will of the people. They want to do everything and get a result that is the result of the NPN. The result that was announced at, I don't know which particular election, the one that brought the lawyer back. I know about it as a reporter. Months before the...
You knew what the result would be?
Yes. And because they had palmed it, they had scripted, and they had decided this was the way it was going to be.
Strategy.
But the fact of the case is that it was both of them who did it. There was one gentleman in it, but I'm not going to be specific in terms of mentioning
names. Yeah.
Every Friday, just before the election, he will kill 2 cows. And he will give everybody... so when they were going to do the election, he had 2 votes in the polling booth in front of his house. And he was so mad, he drove everybody away, except one girl, or his granddaughter.
So he got only 2
votes. Because he said...
After all the cows that he had been killing.
He said it must be that, because he knows that girl would never vote against him. So he said she is the only one who voted for him. That is, he knows he voted for himself. But later on, when he now asked around, he knew that the election had been rigged. So it's something that both of them were doing.
Both parties. It wasn't only the NPC or the NCNC, even the action group.
My father-in-law's driver came to meet me after the election. Said, Ẹ̀gbọ́n, Ọlọ́run ló yan Ṣàgárí o. Ọlọ́run ló yan Ṣàgárí pé we voted and voted. I voted 28 times.
28 times.
And so many people like that. And you know, the way... So when we accuse...
people of rigging.
When we accuse...
always...
In the north, they were doing their own too. And we were doing what we were doing in the west. And
you know the interesting thing, right? Some learned scholars, okay, would posit, probably in their theses or things they have written in the past from the classrooms, they would posit that the political situation or sphere in Nigeria didn't get that bad until the military came. And now we're even talking pre-military.
This is how bad things were.
Yeah, I'm not throwing the first coup away, you know. I'm not throwing that away either. You get, but what got so enshrined in the polity, this thuggery, this rigging, this strategizing, killing people, maiming people, doing all that for people, all because of politics. I would say that it wasn't a military thing. What do you say?
It wasn't a military thing, but again, the military contributed to it. The fact that the politicians were thinking that they were lord and master, they were going to win at all costs, they were going to do whatever it takes to cling to power, and that was what led to it. I mean, take for instance, I am aware that Akintola that you mentioned did want some reconciliation with Awolowo, but some people were telling Chief Awolowo not to take him back, that a traitor will always be a traitor.
Wow.
So they never settled, they never reconciled. There were so many, look, there was some, in Lagos particularly, we tolerated each other. You see a situation where in my house, action group, you see the palm tree,
yeah,
which was the symbol of the action group. and then they put Awo on top. And then he was so glamorous. He would get an helicopter, the helicopter would write Awo, and the frenzy was. But that does not preclude the NPC from doing whatever. You see them put their cock. Also, there was a time Toys Benson came to see my father. Wanted to persuade my father to see if he can persuade the people to vote NCNC. But it didn't succeed. But they left shaking hands.
They were not enemies.
No, they were not.
It was not do or die.
No, it
they
wasn't.
left shaking hands.
Yes.
So, Uncle T,
Yeah.
some of the myths that we heard, I remember the story of the helicopter that Chief Awolowo carried around. But was it true that they were throwing money out of that helicopter at any time?
I didn't say.
Some people said it was tracked, it was flyers.
No, it was flyer. I can attest to that.
It was not money.
It wasn't money. It was flyers that was thrown out.
And he traveled across Nigeria with his helicopter, different parts.
I'm aware of in Lagos. I'm not aware of
Other parts.
We looked up to when he would come, when the helicopter would go around, and then they would write up. I mean, they would use a film of the helicopter to write up.
Wow.
It was colorful. It was something
It was glamorous.
It was glamorous. I mean, but that is what it was. The army, when they came in, they came in as the army, ostensibly to correct whatever the ills of the society were. Along the line, tribal politicians hijacked it. They not particularly they have always been 2 steps ahead of
The other regions.
The other regions. They have always been 2 steps ahead because almost every one of the emirs had inputs into who got into the army. They were actually campaigning and bringing people to join the army. So, and when Sadana of Sokoto was killed, if they had stopped it at that, because at that particular time, I think a year or so, I was in Lokoja, and I was in Kaduna. They were showing picture of Major Nzegu, and then that of Sadana of Sokoto. They said, "Look at the small boy that killed your Oga."
Oh, so they were actually robbing it.
They were robbing it. They were
In their
robbing.
faces.
They were robbing it. And Agwe Rossi, of course. I mean, I know historians would probably
Dispute.
No, not necessarily dispute. They probably will have their own passion to it. But Nzegu, Agwe Rossi made the most serious mistake. He was pushed to start a unitary system of government, where everything would be from the center. At the end of the day, it was favoring the Igbos at the expense of the other regional groups. And so they knew there was going to be a reaction against the regime of Agui Rossi. They knew. And at that time, the schisms were being created in such a way. The Yorubas, of course, were not going to join in any this, and then they were apolitical. They didn't. The ones who are in the north, naturally joined with the northern
People's Congress.
not the northern peoples, the northern
Agitation.
the northern interests.
Yeah.
So when they were good, that's why Demulegun was killed, because they knew he would never have supported anything, any uprising against the Sadana of Sokoto. And so we want to blame the army for escalating what was a divide that was rearing its ugly head. And at that particular time, many people now started seeing they are being victimized as a result of being from this particular tribe, and it is not so.
That was not the reason.
That's not the reason.
Okay, now do you believe that we still have those archaic structures in mind when you think politics these days? Because right now, let's begin to come home here. When I use the word archaic, I'm talking about the strategies displayed, the agitations in vogue in those days, and how clandestinely we went about doing things, devoid of our grouping, our sentiments, our ethnic backgrounds, and all. Do we still have those structures permitting and controlling our minds these days? Because election is around the corner.
Let me start by saying that I never believe in Northern Yoruba or Eastern presidency. I want this country to have the best president that there is. I do not believe in saying that it is the time for the East to produce the president of this country, because that's stupid. A good president is going to be a good president. The best president this country ever had is Obasanjo. And the Yorubas don't like him because he didn't do things the way the Yorubas would have wanted it. I remembered, I'm not going to mention names, some of my friends in the Federal Road Safety Corps, when they have a new corps marshal, and that corps marshal decided to deal with some people in the Road Safety Corps.
Mm.
So Akin Aduwo
Okay.
led some people to go and meet Obasanjo in Abuja. And I called it to a friend of mine who was in the delegation. I said when Obasanjo got to know that what he wanted to come and discuss was that Yorubas are being victimized against. But when you look, if you know the history of the Federal Road Safety Corps, it started in Ibadan.
Yeah.
And most of the corps officers were from Ibadan.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I mean, they with Wole Soyinka being the head, being the arrowhead, and Aguiloye being his supporter. So when they left, they tried to, I mean, they have brought in quite a few people who have become senior officers. So the person who replaced Aguiloye, I think, wanted to restructure the place. So I took some people to meet Obasanjo, and Obasanjo said, "Look, if you have brought these people to come, I'm not the president of Yoruba nation. I'm the president of Nigeria. If these people believe so strongly in their case, let them write." There are so many people who have gone to meet Obasanjo saying that in Nigeria there is the East, the West, the North, that the Yorubas and the Igbos always struggle for economic power. That when he put this Anambra State governor now, and when he made him Soludo,
Yes, CBN governor.
Ekwesili and
Okonjo-Iweala.
That when he made them the arrowhead of the Nigerian economic sector, that is at the expense of the Yorubas, the Yorubas, the Obasanjo told them that, look, I wanted to tell me if these people are good or not. If they are good, good, keep quiet. If they are not good, say something else, and I will follow through.
So it was more of a nationalist.
Yes, it was more of a nationalist, and these are the type of, but subsequently, and that's, I mean, anytime the North are always guilty of using the, when I say the North, I'm talking about the real North.
Okay.
When I say real North, because we all make mistakes here to call North as if it's a united
one
body.
unit, yeah.
No, it isn't.
Okay.
It isn't. And the minority in the North actually are the ones ruling. I mean, because when you talk in terms of the North, you're talking in terms of the people from Kogi, from Kwara, from Gombe, I mean, from Gombe,
Benue.
from Benue, all these things, and who together are not,
They're not
usually
yeah.
in support of northern, I mean, outside interests, I mean, Fulani interests. But they always have a way of playing the tribal card and having a way of influencing and infiltrating the ranks. And of course, we play, we get compliant to the advances. But when you look at Nigeria generally, this is a very beautiful country. I have been along for a long time. And I've had so many outside people do good. I was in Senegal when I went to cover Cup Winners' Cup competition between Shooting Stars and CF Duvel.
Okay.
And then that was when Buhari and India closed the border. We were in the advanced team that went, and we were expecting the team that was going to follow the second day to bring all our money and requirements.
Equipment and all.
And food and all those things. So,
The border was shut.
yes, the border was shut.
Oof.
So it was, I think his name is Haruna Mohammed or something. He was the press attaché. He was the one that literally, and they don't have money. They were not, the money had not come to them. But he took it upon himself to feed me, my cameraman, and the other gentleman from BCS. He was always there for us. He was always coming to pick us up. And we know that he didn't have money. It was going through, he probably would have borrowed money to support us. So when you look at this, there are so many things that unite us as Nigerians than divide us. I mean, I don't know.
So, even with all of these experiences that you had as a Nigerian, your exposure to the tribalism and other issues, you still believe in the green, white, green. You still believe in Nigeria as an entity.
I have 3 grandchildren who are Igbos. My daughter is
3 grandchildren
who are Igbos.
who are Igbos. So that means their daddies are Igbos.
Yes, their daddy is Igbo.
Oh, their daddy is Igbo. Okay.
That means he is married to my daughter.
Yeah.
My younger sister is married to an Igbo man.
Wow.
And there are so many cousins. I don't know what we have with Igbos, but we have so many interrelationships with them.
This is beyond handshake across the Niger River Niger. This is more like, it's not even an embrace. This is a fusion.
But I told you,
the DNA,
I told you that there's one buyer that I'm still looking for, which
Yes.
my mythical Omoibo.
Omoibo.
I mean, we grew up in the carefree. We don't look at when there's one Omoibo that we're playing with too. When we go to, it's a typical Omoibo, big, strong. So when we are playing set, it would come when in set when I don't know if you met it. After 3 goals.
Yeah, another set will come. Yes.
So this guy, anytime he comes in, he must call for a set. So this day he came out, and it was 2-2. We were looking for just one goal, and that goal by anybody. So
by any means.
And by any means. So this boy just came and said, "Stop." And because I was so enthralled in it, I went to him and I said, what do you want to do? So, I mean, I said it in spite of myself because it was bigger. I said, why should we stop? Then he just grabbed me by the neck, said, are you talking to me? And then before you know, in those days when we want to fight, you take sand.
Yeah.
And they say, okay, you beat it down. I didn't even wait for that process. I just carried his leg, put knocked him on the ground and stood on him. I was beating him with all the power that I can muster. And that was how the myth around him
Just demystified him.
It was demystified, and I keep calling him Okoibo, Okomo. But you see, when we look at when I was in Ife and I was going to contest for the president of the press club, my backer is Charles Okibo. Was Charles Okibo, is Igbo. And some people went to meet him because I was contesting against another Igbo person. Some people went to meet him and said, look, do you know that he is contesting against Samuel Huabua? And Charles told him, we're still friends till today though.
Which Ohabua?
The same Ohabua. The pharmacist.
The pharmacist.
the current presidential candidate of the PDP. I said, "Are you aware that Obafemi is running against?" I said, "Look, if I were contesting against any Yoruba man, Balogun would be behind me." That was what concept we had at Ife. That was the Ife was, for me, the best Nigerian university there could be at that time. There's one Igbo boy who was befriending Awolowo's daughter, and he ran for president of the student union. It is the older people, we call them Asoso, that didn't make him to win, because everybody was going to vote for him, because it was more progressive, it was more, and that ended the myth about those people who are Asoso, because we call them Asoso because they do associateship courses, and they become plenty.
Okay.
But since that time, since the boyfriend of Awolowo's daughter was defeated, nobody ever, the associates never won any election again, because we made sure that the progressive elements ganged up together and ensured that we won. Jimmy Jar, one of our presidents, his mother was Igbo, and he was more an Igbo person than a Yoruba person. So that the tradition we had was one in which we love Nigeria. We're passionate about it, and we knew that this country had invested a lot in us.
Yeah.
And we wanted to do whatever we can to make it work.
Do you see that fusion now?
We're going to get these people out. The present situation, the present situation we have, where we have people who think more about themselves, people who think more about what they can take out, not what they can give in, people who look at it from the point of view that there's some people that have gotten so cocky about leadership, and that we are going to put them in place. We're going to get a situation where Nigerians would know that Nigeria belongs to all of us. Nigeria, now we country, now we own, and we are going to go and make a pitch for it. We are going to get Nigerians back to Nigeria back for Nigerians. It's not going to be a situation where one person will sit down somewhere and because he has stolen all the money and he would now put Nigeria up for sale. We will get there. I do believe it's going to be tough. It's going to be rough, but Nigeria would. I feel it in my bone. And I have dedicated every part of my life to see that we get a Nigeria that my own grandchildren would be proud of. That will say, we love this country. This country was good to us. My generation particularly.
Yeah.
We want a situation where it comes to that situation, where it comes back to education was.
Hold that thought for a second, sir. You're still listening to Boom Radio, and this is the Boom by the Legends series with Tayo Balogun. Tokunbo Jekule and Shola Rogers are making an attempt to interview him, and we're just basically enjoying ourselves, and we're learning also. We're talking, and this is beautiful. It's a three-way conversation. And we hope you guys will also join us. I see you're listening and all of that. And thank you for joining us from all over the world. But, however, we're continuing in this conversation. This is 3:13. We're heading towards, 4. Yeah, 4 o'clock, which would make almost 2 hours of the conversation.
So soon?
So, yes. So soon. And like I say, funny how time flies when you're having fun. However, sir, you've been very upfront and you've broken down, the way things are. And we've been able to draw parallels, which is what we're trying to achieve anyway, so that people can learn. It's about knowledge, filling the knowledge gap. There are a few things, because you talked about the University of Ife. And how you feel it was the best school at that time. I don't want to talk about now, at that time. However, there are a few things that we would like you to demystify, or maybe correct if we're wrong. there were talks of how, because now we're talking about lecturer strike, ASU strike, every day, ASU strike. ASU wants this billion, they want that million. And students are finally speaking up that if ASU can go on strike, students will also fight back and all of that. Did you have ASU strikes when you were in university?
We have student strike.
Not ASU strike.
Because what usually happens is that when it gets to around February, the students get agitated, they get bored, they want to say, okay, let's do something. Let's go strike. And you see some of this graffiti in the toilet.
Someone just wakes up one day
in the toilet and say, when are we going on strike?
Wow.
Write it in the toilet, and then you say, and somebody say, I beg, it's time. They say, we have these stupid students.
That was social media.
No, graffiti on
that
the toilet.
That was social media.
It is.
Social.
Yes.
If you look back now,
yes.
that is social media.
Yes, it is. Or it was actually.
So, someone will write graffiti on the wall.
There's always a follow-up. That would be a follow-up. And
then,
sometimes you don't get them when they are doing it. You just wake up and there's a follow-up on the wall already.
And then there's somebody that would, you see, there was a time we wanted to go on strike. And then we looked at what we should go on strike. We wanted to go on strike.
For a reason.
Yes, we wanted to go on strike on Gowon. And then we wanted to put up a demand. We announced that that time I think he changed his mind about 1976.
Yes.
Yeah. So we said we are going to go on strike. We actually went on strike. And nobody reported it.
The media did not cover it.
No, nobody reported it. So we now sat down together and said, look, how are we going to get
their attention?
And it started from this graffiti on the distance. Said, look, let's march. Somebody just wrote, let's march to Lagos and go and give our demand to
the president.
To the president.
From Ife.
From
Ife. Yeah. So it became an idea that caught on. And before you know it, everybody was serious.
There was no phones. There were no mobile phones then.
No.
But you were able to send out information.
And then there would be a Congress. So there was a Congress, and then we resolved that we were going to march to Lagos, that we have been on strike. Nobody is they have bribed the media not to come, not to do this, not to. So we are going on strike. We are going to strike to Lagos. We chose a date. And I was mandated to go to some satellite campuses of Ife and encourage them to join the strike. Before you know it, they bought up all the canvases there was around, and everybody wanted to go on strike. So the director of the National Security Organization came and told us, took us out and showed us the kill and go. The military police that was lined outside. Outside. He said, look, I just want to tell you that the blood of these people will be on your hand. If you go out, I have orders to stop you. How I stop you, it's not what I know I'm going to do, but I'm going to make sure that you don't get out of here. So I want to advise you that you don't come out. Otherwise, you will have the lives of these people in your hand. We were sufficiently intimidated. And we had, you see, there used to be a rapport between students and the university authority. So we met our vice chancellor. Said, look, we cannot tell the students not to stop marching to Lagos. If you stop, we can't survive it. And we don't want to go against what the police have said. So I said, a simple matter. I said I would close the university. And then when I close the university, you can now call the Congress and tell them that, look, the people we said you wanted to march, that we should print pamphlet and give to them to take home and go and distribute to your messenger, the driver, and then give to market women as you go. And that was what saved the situation, because he also made money available for us to be able to buy all we will need to make sure that we had enough pamphlets and
to spread the message.
yes.
Okay.
And that was one of the ways. In those days, the strike is usually instigated by students, because when we get bored,
I can relate. I'm not going to say more than that. I know that I can relate.
But what happens now is all about, centers more on the lecturers.
No, because
And
the case that the federal government does not have any business running university. They don't. And you know, the funny part of it is that Obasanjo gave the university lecturers, so we will give you freedom, but also allow every university to run his own program, pay salaries, pay this, and we were. But they rejected
Decentralize
it.
the system.
They rejected it. The situation now is that unless the university system is salted for 2 months, for 2 years, and it's doable. Ghana did it, I think. It was doable when you stop education and re-engineer it. The best control. Allow the university to run their own show. Let them put things in place. There's no country that can survive, that can run the university system the way it is being run, because the money is just not available. When I was going to school, we had people coming to clean your room and launder your dress.
In university.
In the university. And now what they pay, I'm not sure any university pays up to, I don't know what they pay now. But the money they pay is not enough to fund the university education. And government does not have the money to pay, really, in the truth. The government does not have, but they should be bold enough to say, okay, look, let's give the universities the autonomy they deserve. Let's divest ourselves from it.
A lot of these universities are generating revenue internally.
Look, this university by this eminent lawyer, it's one of the best universities.
Afe Babalola.
Everybody talks about it. All the facilities they have. I'm not sure it's running it at a loss.
No, it's not. I
And-
don't think
and,
it is.
And when you talk in terms of a situation, the universities run scholarship programs on their own. They give vacation jobs to people, and for indigent students, people who want to apply to work within the university setup, so as to be able to pay their school fees. But these are things that we are not doing, and we have a stupid culture of seeing government as everybody's rich uncle, from whom we have to
You
take
must
and
pick the
take
bills.
and take and take and not give anything to. Until we stop this idea, we are not going to move away from this situation we're in. It's going to be, because this government and no government can pay what it takes to run the university system adequately. No.
None. In support of that, we know how student loans are given in America, and students 10, 20, 30 years after graduation,
They are still paying.
they're still paying those loans.
Yes.
So the government really needs to look at how we're going to restructure
No,
this.
corruption
system.
is the in thing. Everybody is corrupt, and what corruption has done to national life is legendary in terms of the minuses that there are. The people would get scholarship, get loan, and look for ways of not paying, and they will succeed in not paying, and before you know it, they are out. And of course, the catch-22 is you will want to get.
I think over time we must have left so many things undone. I'm going to crave your indulgence a bit, and let me take you into a comfortable zone for you, which is sports. Sports development and its administration and impact on society in Nigeria is awesome. Very loud, because we had a very great history. We had a time when it was a fantastic thing for you to say you are a footballer. It's really brilliant for you to do any other means of sport, and especially when you have to travel abroad now, you join the league of professionals. It's great. You have been part of the writing of the sports stories. You have been part of the history. You have seen a lot of things, whether they're good, bad, or ugly, but it's just part of the things you can even put in your memoirs. Let's look back and now. Are you very happy about sports administration and the way it's going?
When you talk in terms of sports administration, you can't take sports out of the malaise of the society. We have a situation where everything about the country has gone down and has gone bad. And you cannot expect it not to affect sports. We have a situation whereby, in those days when I was in NTA, we were proposing, we encouraged our boss, Fabio Lanibago, to get a situation where we create a monopoly, a monolith that would be something close to what the South Africans now do. That we have a digital television, network that is devoted to sports.
Yeah.
That would cover sports from our own point of view, from the point of view of the nation. But of course, so many things made that not to happen. When you look at the situation we have on ground, every FA election, Football Federation election, has always been marred with violence and court litigations.
Controversies. Yeah.
Upon controversy upon controversy. There are still some cases that are simmering underneath.
Even here in Lagos, yes. It's not easy.
That is it.
Yeah.
So when you talk in terms of what the situation is, we are going to continue to grope in the dark unless people in the private sector come into it. And that's one of the reasons why I support the initiative by Channels TV to start this Kids Cup. And then the athletics something, which I know he wanted to make into basketball too, where we would have a situation that people from the schools will get involved in sports. The government doesn't have the wherewithal, doesn't have the interest to do whatever they need to do. And of course, those who, when you want to appoint a sports minister, you go to, this one is doing whatever he can. He's trying as much as he can try. But again, there are so many things that are not going right.
Yeah.
Everything that would develop our sports is at the sports ministry. There have been at least four seminars that I know. There was one I attended that was chaired by Jonathan. And the leaders of the industry were there. It was solutions were provided for how to fund sports. Solutions were provided for how to ensure that we prepare for Olympics. We prepare for all the sports in the way that we should prepare for. Solutions were provided for private sector funding of sports activities and sportsmen. But these are things that will remain in the locker room and they will not get out until one day.
All right, you're still listening to us at the Boom Bar on your Boom Radio NG. Tayo Balogun, Tokunbo Jakunle, Shola Rogers, having a conversation. We've gone down memory lane. We are now in the present. We're talking everything, and we're zeroing in on sports at the moment because of we know how much of a sports person our guest is. You talked about policies that were crafted and can actually move sports forward, but they'll probably just die where they are. We also talked about the controversies surrounding sports federations, elections, and all of that. Has it always been this bad? Has it always been like this? Because we know from the NFA to the NFF, the names that you can mention, if there was a time we had military people in charge of the Football Federation, We've had air commodores. We've had all sorts of people in charge. One of the issues that sports has, and I blame the politicians for this, is that they treat sports like something for the boys. They treat sports like a secondary thing. Like it's always the last thing that they think of. You know that you will never choose someone who is not a doctor to be minister of health.
Mm-hmm.
You will know you would not, if you even put a pharmacist who is also in the health industry, there's going to be controversy, there's going to be issues. We all know these things, right? There are people who have studied sports medicine, people who have studied sports marketing, sports administration, or people who have played the game and have grown. How come we're finding it hard? Maybe it's a journalist who has been in sports administration, who understands the game. How come we're finding it hard to really, really harness the Nigerian sports industry and take it to the level that it should be on?
Because nobody knows the potential. I mean, amongst those who rule us, they don't know the potentials that are available. That sports could give. If I were president of this country, I would use sports to promote national cohesion.
Yeah.
I would use sports to look. This country can win the FIFA World Cup.
Just
With the players and with the situation around it, has to. All we need is just the will. But when we have a situation where people, they don't even know, they have gone back to the National Sports Commission.
mm-hmm.
It's been passed in principle, so it has not become operational.
No.
Probably it won't become operational.
They probably never will.
Probably it will never will. But the situation we have on ground is one in which everybody who has had the misfortune of being president of this country does not know the value that sports can give.
They don't. They don't.
Let me give you one small example of my days in NTA Ibadan. I ran from, I covered the sports, I covered reportorial, I was head of analysis, investigation and research. I did an interview program, Speak Out, and I have a program in which I host people to discuss current political issues. I was a news producer, but let's say in NTA Ibadan I spent about 10 years, 3 of which was in sports. But the recognition, most people don't know me.
As a sports?
Know me as sports. Not as somebody who has spoken to Bola Olunloy or Akinjide, all these and did some interviews.
MKO Abiola.
Nobody,
I heard that you interviewed him.
Yes, yes. Nobody, not many people know me.
As a political anchor.
Yes, yes. But what they know, the type of facial recognition I get were those that I got from sports. And I know a lot of value that I've gotten from being a sports reporter. There was a day I was driving in the street and I forgot to take my jack from my mechanic, and then I had a spare tire. I had a puncture tire. I wanted to remove this and couldn't. And then before you know it, 4 gentlemen just came and said, "What's wrong with it?" I said, I can't have a jack in my. So let's carry it for you. And they carried the car for me and then removed the tire for me. And
that was in Ibadan?
Yeah, that's in Ibadan.
Wow.
And they said, "Oh, thank you. I wanted to give them." I said, "No, I'm not worried. You are the one giving us correct about shooting stars." You know, and these are the type of things that, I mean,
the power of sports.
The power of sport. There's a lot about it. When Nigeria is playing, look, when we won the Olympic gold, Ghana declared public holiday. They weren't the ones who won.
In Ghana.
In Ghana. Senegal did the same thing. And everybody that is black was celebrating Nigeria for...
Yeah. I remember someone who lived in America then, still lives in America though, said he got a standing ovation when he got to work the day after, because you know he had been going to work with his Nigerian jersey and the flag and everything. But the day after Nigerian work, when he walked into the office, people were like, "Oh, your people did that." And I remember the kind of parties that we had in Lagos.
Yes.
It was all over.
Yes.
This is the power of
And
sports.
and
How come politicians don't see this? Are they blind to this?
they are. I mean, the fact of the case is that they are blind.
I think deliberately though.
I see.
I think deliberately.
Hmm.
I think deliberately.
Why would they want to?
I'll
shoot
give you an
themselves in
example. Okay, fine. You still should give me examples. Don't mention names. A particular state, they know the right thing to do about putting the right people in the right places. They were looking for, was he FA chairman or something? I can't remember. And he had to go for a proprietor of a club. And people wondered why. Okay, maybe there was something hidden they didn't understand. You know, there was nothing hidden. You mentioned politics, we mentioned governance, we mentioned military. Everything down the road has been hugely politicized. From our filling forms, where do you come from? What state do you represent? We start from that point.
State of origin.
Our children also are facing the same. Their schools of various areas of, you know, I believe that they have been deliberate about these things. But when it comes to sharing the looting, because sports is expensive, you have to spend money and make budget. You have to spend money and make budget. When it gets to that point, everybody wants to be in charge. Everybody wants to belong.
Yeah, I met the present governor of Lagos State in night shift tourism at one of the things they and I said that there is something about Lagos. There's something special about Lagos. There's something that is unique about Lagos. And I believe that whatever Lagos gets right percolates to the nation.
Yes.
That Lagos should create a situation where everybody in Lagos rally around the Lagos concept, regardless of where you are. I mentioned the fact that I grew up in Lagos, and I know that we should create a situation where anybody who was born in Lagos, because part of your umbilical cord has been buried here.
Yeah.
So you're already part of the Lagos soil. We should galvanize everybody, move them together, let them have a sense of commitment to the Lagos region. I said I was going to see him, but somehow, from information available to me, I was told that they said I was a partial person. That, and at that time, Fashola was persona non grata.
Have we said anything different so far?
This country is so beautiful.
That's the current governor of Lagos now.
Yes, yes. This country is so beautiful. I've been, as a reporter, I've been almost everywhere, not almost everywhere in Nigeria. And I know how beautiful these people are. I know how the average Nigerian person is. They will take you in at any time. They love you regardless of if you are Igbo, if you are Yoruba, they will take you in. They would. IBB was saying that one of the things about the Yorubas is that when a Yoruba gets somewhere, he imbibes the culture of the people and gets himself into the system and doesn't seek to be different.
Yeah.
The Igbos want to be different and stay, but we still allow this. This is a beautiful country. This is an absolutely beautiful, and there's a lot of strength in our number. I mean, with the more we are, the better we are. Because if you want to, if you want to sell something to 200 million people, it's not the same thing as selling it to 10 million people. The other time when I was a consultant to 3NC, I went to meet Everlast, and I said we should create a situation where, they manufacture canvas shoes, and then sell it. They'll start with Shooting Stars, then Enugu, and but of course it never got off the ground because politics killed it. But again, what surprised me was that they were so happy about it because they were looking at the Nigerian market as a market that would move for them. You can sell a tennis shoe at 50 naira and then produce 200,000. You see, this country, I keep saying this, I'm an optimist, an incurable one, and I know that this country would become great. Give it 5 years. What the negative things we're saying now will not and be what we will be reporting. And the political process must be defined and redefined in such a way that we would be able to make Nigeria great. Nigeria is a great country. We can make it greater than it is. And then your efforts, I think, should be commended, because we must get a situation where everybody talks about it.
Yeah.
By the time we start talking about it, then we want to do something about it. But the situation where nobody talks, we keep quiet.
There will be no solution.
There will be no solution.
One area I want us to talk about quickly is journalism. That's another passion of yours. I mean,
We have 20 minutes.
yeah, I'm going to make it very
We're
short.
going to cash in on this.
We just quickly cash in on that. Thank you. This journalism. Are you impressed by what you read these days?
Or see, or hear.
Or hear, or
The
content.
annoying part of it is that, I mean, journalism, Nigeria is in a position to lead the world in journalism, because I do not believe that CNN and BBC and whatever are practicing journalism any longer. Look at the reportage on
Ukraine.
the Ukraine, South Africa, I mean, Russia, Ukraine-Russia war. It's from a partisan perspective. They tell lies. They make things.
Propaganda.
They bring propaganda. In journalism, we had a maxim: when in doubt, leave out.
Leave out.
In television, we say, don't tell, show. What they will do is to tell us. They insult, they turn our head upside down with fabrications. Nobody is telling the world that the situation we've gotten in Russia is as a result of everybody goading
Russia.
Goading Russia and telling the
Ukraine to go ahead.
To go ahead. And the man, because he was a comedian, he didn't know he didn't know the gravity.
He has taken it hook, line, and sinker.
Yes. He didn't know the implication of when you have 40,000 troops and you want to fight someone who has 400,000. When you have this limited number of aircraft and you want to find, and the people who are pushing you have a policy of no boot on the ground. So how do you win? But we have a situation where journalism has been turned upside down. The journalism is no longer about truth, it's about propaganda. And we stand, and that's where I think we, in this country, should find a means of getting people who would say it the way it is. And I know one or two organizations that are doing just that, and I hope everybody can succeed, and then we can carve a niche for ourselves. What it used to be, when I was in India, I was well brought up in this particular profession. Well brought up in the sense that we were told, I read English in Ife, but when I got there, I went through tutelage. We went through some rudimentaries. There are so many things that they told us, there are so many things I was taught. There was a time, a Jaguar plane, a Jaguar jet fighter crashed.
Yeah.
And then the reporter who went, he reported that mangled bodies. Is it Jaguar now? I mean, I forgot. I'm not too sure if it is Jaguar.
Did it belong to the Air Force?
It belongs to the Air Force, but it was a British plane.
Okay.
I think it should be Jaguar. So they arrested the journalist, and then we were going to protest. We were protesting our right that he was doing his job.
He was just doing his job.
Yes. And then Jan Bewan, who was the governor of Oyo State, then called us and said, look, I've been spending time begging for you guys. You have broken the law. That there's something they call D-notice. You don't report any crash of a military vehicle. Because when you do that, you are giving people who are your rivals that one of your equipment is lost.
It's down, yes.
It's down. So you are not supposed to broadcast anything that is about unity. And we said mangled bodies. That plane can only take one person. So he said in terms of facts, we were wrong. We said mangled bodies seen dangled from the tree. And instead of being confronted, when we're going to be confrontational, we're going to down to, but we had to say, okay, we hide our face in shame and say, okay, please do whatever you can for us. There were laws, and we censor ourselves.
Do we still do that?
No, I said we censored ourselves.
At that time,
At that time, we censored ourselves. You will not see anything that is not, when you can't prove anything, you won't talk about it. You cannot afford to be wrong. We get both sides to a case. I mean, and it is not a situation where we just want to go on and say whatever we want to say without necessarily knowing what to say. So, journalism has been thrown to the dogs. We must get it right by first deciding who is a journalist. Is it the person that has the money to just go and get a group of people together and say, okay, I'll continue to
start reporting?
Start reporting.
Or the owner.
Or the
well, that's the point that you started
the owner,
from.
yes. Or the owner.
Again, your thoughts on the process of even getting licensing to become a broadcast station. What are your thoughts on that? You've been around, you know the system, you've worked on different parts of the divide.
They made it difficult for you to, to be a broadcaster now when you are not, when you don't have a lot of money, and it shouldn't be. Once you're able to transmit, once you're able to keep to the laws, I think that's you. We have a situation in Philippines. I don't know how many radio stations that there are, but so many. And now they give you, in Nigeria, they give you all laws. You have to get, whoever is going to write your feasibility study for you must be from the National Broadcasting Corporation.
Yeah.
It's a situation.
You can't even fill their form. You can't fill that form.
Are the forms or documents?
No, they have forms available. But
no, the form. No, I'm sure you got what I was saying.
Oh, okay.
You got what I was saying. You know, I'm just a little bit worried, and I'm still worried. The issue of the broadcast journalist thing still hits me. It's made difficult now because we now have a lot of social systems working around us.
If this were, I want to tell you something. If this were a terrestrial station, tomorrow you probably would be off.
This conversation,
tomorrow you probably will be off air.
At least this aspect of the conversation where we're even criticizing.
Am I saying here now that the regulatory bodies are really part of the problem?
They are the problem. They are the problem because there's no regulation in place, and they are not doing anything to even enhance broadcasting. They are not doing anything to ensure training and retraining. In NTA Ibadan, where I cut my teeth in broadcasting, there's training and retraining. There's certain things that every year there's somebody they bring from the BBC to come and take us through some programs, and they teach us what we should do, what we should not be doing. We learn so many things on the job. So it could make somebody like me, who read English as my first degree, to know what there is to know.
Guilty as charged.
Yes.
Okay. But you end up being a consultant.
Yeah, because I paid my dues. I was.
Fantastic. Now in going through that process, sorry,
no, go ahead.
In going through that process, okay, how difficult is it for you
to be a consultant?
How difficult is it for you to impart what you have on the crop of new brains?
You just got to do it yourself, and then they watch you do it. For instance, when I was in Star FM as a chief operating officer, I decided that we should capture between 6 and 11 o'clock period. So I decided on some programs, and with some assistance from some of the people who were there. We started news. I wanted us to be the first to broadcast the news, so we started our news at 6:30. Our main news at 6:30, and I will be there by 5:30 to oversee whatever they are doing. I never miss any day. Most of the people who come by 6 are already late.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time Moyo Oyatogun, who was one of the people I recruited, was saying that one of the things she learned was that I was always deducting her money. Because when she comes later on, she became part of the system, and she knows what to do and what not to do. So I was always hands-on. I got in touch with the management that please give me the time to insist that this schedule must operate at this schedule. We are not going to take this thing away for religion, for financial consideration and put something aside. Now, everybody wants money. They don't want you to do anything. But once you have a hands-on mentality, take channels, for instance, where I spent some time as a consultant. John is a hands-on person. There's no day he won't get in touch with the station at least 10, 20 times.
Yeah.
Pointing at, getting mad at what they have done.
Everywhere.
So these are the things that sharpen him. These are the things that would help the industry to move. Unfortunately, there are too many. That's why I want an organization like yours to get into the mainstream broadcast media and get things right. One of the things that you do would perhaps bring more people to come in and do whatever you are doing. The more the merrier, and do what is right.
I don't think it would be right if I asked you, do you feel 70?
No.
You don't,
No,
you
no.
don't look 70.
No, I don't feel 70. I don't have the gait I have as a 40, 50-year-old person. But in my mind, I still have the mind of a 40-year-old. I like trouble. I am still a diehard. So, when I was a boy, I supported stars, shooting stars. Those are the two. Before,
because I was coming to that, and I was actually going to fight him on this one. I am a diehard Stationery Stores fan.
Okay.
I grew up as a Stationery Store. Those guys lived on my street for years. So, how is someone like him, one of us, supporting our enemies? How? How?
Does this make any significance? I've been using white handkerchief since that time.
Yeah.
And ever since, you will never see me without a white handkerchief.
There's some people who would have our heads if we did not bring in this aspect of it. At some point, the Sports Writers Association of Nigeria, they had a clone which was known as the Stores Writers Association of Nigeria. The same mnemonic, the same number of letters and everything. But people like yourself were part of that system. You felt the vibe. You experienced it. The stadiums were packed.
Look, there was a day when Shooting Stars went into relegation. I was covering that particular match. I think it was between Calabar Rovers and Stationery Stores. And Shooting Stars.
Shooting Stars.
And Shooting Stars lost. So this man, for a long time I had the film. This man went to a corner and was standing and said, Shooting Stars, mi ò lè kọ̀ ẹ́ sílẹ̀. Mi ò lè kọ̀ ẹ́ sílẹ̀. Ìyàwó mi ní pé kí n fún ní 200 naira. 200 naira. 200 naira. Kí n fi sebẹ̀. But tó kún fẹ́ wá wo máàjì. Mo ní mi ò lówó lọ́wọ́. Ẹ wá jẹ́ kó nà wá. That's the type of passion.
That's the power of the league.
Anytime Stars comes to Lagos, comes to Ibadan, wow, just forget it. The Nigeria Bank, nobody works from 2 o'clock. And these are the type of things that we no longer have.
So a little bit about that before we go I know we have 6 minutes or so, but I know we overrun it. It's allowed. It's not every time you get someone like that Balogun in the stadium. How did we get here? I know you are guilty of a crime I'm about to accuse you of. I will accuse you.
Don't accuse me.
I will accuse you too.
No, go ahead.
You're both Arsenal fans. Yes, you're both Arsenal fans. And Arsenal is one of the best football teams in the world. I will not argue with that. But how did we get here? It's not a crime to support Arsenal and support your local team. But how did we get to the point where our local league is virtually comatose? How did we get here? The league was exciting. Even when they were playing weekday games. I remember as a little boy, we would go to Teslim Balogun, we would go to Onikon to watch games. How did we get here?
Because we got here because people were not doing the needful. Everybody was perverting the system. It became the more money you have, the better it is for you. When you talk in terms of shooting stars, I mean, where I spent my adult life as a broadcaster
In Ibadan.
As a sports broadcaster person, we had a situation whereby the passion was rewarded. There was money. The thing David Jembe was enjoying was because he was governor of Oyo State when Shooting Stars won the Cup Winners' Cup competition, and the type of things that he did. That time, if you are a supporter of Shooting Stars, you could commit no crime.
That was 77, 78 or
Yes,
so.
yes. Just like when it is, I mean, in stores here, when they say EO,
Yo.
you know, the passion.
They will let you through. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Get up.
Well, there was a day I was driving through Lagos, and this taxi driver was haggling to get in front of me, and I was trying to get in front of him. When he wasn't going to allow me to get inside. I just said, "Upshooting." He said, "That's all."
That's all.
I said, "That's all." With me, that's what I should have said.
That's the power of the brand.
Yes, but we will get there. We'll get there.
How do we bring back the glory?
They say the former minister for sports, Abdullahi, started this NPL something. I mean, the professional league something. He wanted the situation, and he did well. But along the line, the standards have been dropping and dropping. Because when he was talking to me, he said, "Look, I want a situation where the least paid Nigerian player was going to be earning 100,000 a month, the least paid, and then they will graduate it." And they had some things lined up. Along the line, they brought into Carabao into the picture. Carabao did a lot to bring some form of I mean, there's somebody
Structure.
some structure. Somebody that has not been given the adequate respect that he deserves. But he brought a lot of things in. But the professional league is not. Has not gone down, but it has not been what it was meant to be. Now, what used to be the consideration has started creeping in. People are manipulating matches. People are. The last time I checked, some people said they have not been paid. Some match commissioners said they have not been paid their bonuses, and this should not be. It's a mixed match.
A club owner based in Lagos, I won't mention his name, we've not been mentioning him since.
I
said,
have.
Yeah. He said that his team was going to play at the Onikon Stadium, I think in the lower league, and he heard from the grapevine that the away team had bribed the officials.
They had bribed the officials.
So he said he approached the officials and he said to them, "I heard you've been bribed X amount. This is the same amount of money. I'm giving you the same amount of money. This is what I heard. Take it. Do not favor me. Do not favor him. Let us play."
Let's play.
And of course, he won that game. His team won that game. I won't mention his name on it. I'll say it off air. It shows you again how important every aspect of the game is: officiating, security, logistics, health, medical coverage and everything. All of these things play a role in getting us to where we were. And we need to put in the work. Would you be willing, sir, if you're called upon, would you be willing to bring your wealth of knowledge to help bring back the glory of the league?
Look, you see, if you take Zamalek Football Club, for instance, when Adegboye Nimide named Shooting Stars 3SC, what he had in mind was Shooting Stars Sports
Club.
That was going to include basketball, table tennis,
everything. Yes.
Boxing, and so many other sports.
Yes.
And he took Zamalek FC of Egypt
as a model.
In Zamalek FC, they have a stadium, and if you see the shops in the stadium filled almost every time filled.
Merchandise.
You sell everything, and on weekends they bring families to come there to do this. So Zamalek does not rely on anybody's suspension, but the money that they make. This situation is that Shooting Stars could do the same thing. The type of thing we have is that one of the things I want to implore the governor of Oyo State to do is to let go of Shooting Stars. Give them a matching grant. Give them a 2-year moratorium to go private. And before you know it, you will see rent the stadium to them for 10 years. And before you know it, they will be able to stand on their feet.
I think over time we have failed to prioritize sports.
Yes.
And I look back and one thing hits me. Our players go outside, they do well, they win international laurels, and we promise them houses. We promise them cars and stuff.
All sorts of gifts.
And we don't give them until 10 years after.
Or never.
Or never give them. It shows a high level of unseriousness. So even if we are hitting agencies, you are hitting the corporate bodies to come in, help sustain a club, and they'll still look down and they definitely won't do anything. I think we need people to let people know that there's priority in sports. Whether we do it or we don't do it, let's know if we're not doing it at all.
You see, the thing is that we must find a means of making sure that we engineer a situation where those who get to run our sports have what it takes. Now, the situation we have on ground, if you take the NFL for instance, is we have a situation where the incumbent is likely to return, because all he would do is, if we qualify for the World Cup, he would tell our association chairman and take them to the World Cup, and in exchange for their votes.
Loyalty.
Part of the thing that he's trying to do is to ensure that they don't have election before the World Cup, and the election is due in June. But if we have a government that knows what it is doing, they have a means of
making sure that they keep to the original calendar.
Yes. And FIFA will support their getting to keep to the original calendar. But we have a situation where nobody cares about anything. Nobody looks beyond tomorrow. I know that ordinarily if you feed information about Nigeria and Ghana into the computer, they would the computer will predict that we'll win home and away. But I'm not too sure that would happen, because we really don't know what we're doing.
So talking about home and away, in a few weeks' time we'll be playing Ghana home and away for a crucial World Cup qualifier. Uncle Shegun Adenuga has offered to come back. He has this tie with Ghana, we all know that. And he has the vast experience. So this is a spur of the moment thing. It would be a nice program to have both of you in studio analyzing the Nigeria-Ghana situation just about that time.
I'll be glad to be here. I mean, I'll be glad to be here to do the analysis, yes. And I can tell you offhand we'll win both matches.
We win both matches.
Some people have called it the Jollof Wars. Call it anything you want.
Now, have you tasted Ghanaian jollof?
To be honest, I haven't.
It's not as good as ours.
I haven't.
It's not as good as
The,
ours.
the only Ghanaian food that I have had that I am okay with is kenke. And growing up in Zulere, kenke was regular for us.
Everywhere.
You know, the fish
Everywhere.
and this pepper sauce, and you know, it was okay for us. Then there was a wanche, which was rice and beans cooked together. We understand, but you see, jollof, Ghana, leave it for us. See. Come on, Charlie, leave jollof. Don't worry, Charlie, leave it. You know, so it is the Legend series, and for every Legend series, of course, we have an award plaque and certificate to give to our guests, and this is me being modest and saying that I have been monitoring our dispatch writers, trying to get in touch with them, and for one reason or the other, they have failed. They have failed, but we take responsibility for this. But because we're having that session where we're going to have the Ghana-Nigeria World Cup analysis, and you know me now, I've done.
Is it the first or the second leg?
We would pick one of the games.
That's okay.
Preferably before the first game, so that people would understand what to expect for the two games, first and second. So we'll look at the first game.
Okay.
And we're definitely going to have this amazing veterans. This is something that can't happen anywhere in the world. It's going to happen here. We'll have Segun Adenuga and Tayo Balogun.
But I defer to Segun Adenuga because he's a senior colleague.
Yes. And you are all our own senior colleague.
Oh, we're all right.
He's my senior colleague. You're his senior colleague.
This one is small.
Most senior.
Most
senior. Most elderly.
Senior.
This is the beauty of the media. Someone referred to the media as a cult.
Yes, it is.
Yes, and I do not argue with you. Yes, we are a cult. We stand for our own. We support our own. And I had Mitchell Obi interview Modele Sharafa recently. She's running for governor of Ogun State.
Yes, I wanted to say one or two. Modele Sharafa Yusuf is the first broadcast journalist in Africa that is female. The Lord used me to be a mentor. When she got into the profession, she served under me. She was going to serve in NTA Ibadan. And then that time I had a competition from the Broadcasting Service of Oyo State. Fabio just came to Lagos, and I was told to come and head sports in NTA Ibadan. And anything I do, anything I introduce, the BCS people will do it. I said that we should be dressing properly, corporately. They started dressing properly, corporately. I said we should be doing stand-uppers. They started doing stand-uppers.
Wow.
So that time, Modele came to my office. She said she's a youth corp. I said, do you have anything in sports? Do you know anything about sports? She said, no. Are you ready to learn? She said, yes. Okay. Anywhere I'm going, you must come with me. And at the end of the day, she was so good. She became so good that she won the Director's Award for NYSC.
Wow.
And everybody in Ibadan loved her, because that was when female football started. And he was demonstrating, testing the ball, and the type of things that people want to. And she has a pleasant, on-air personality.
She does.
From there, she kept on growing and growing and growing. So when she told me she wanted to run for governor of Oyo State, for governor of Ogun State,
yeah.
I said, seriously? She said, yes. I spoke to her before I got here, because I said I was going to dedicate my column on this day to her. On Thursday, because she has something most people don't have: ability to stick to it, ability to forishogbo.
Now, forishogbo, we will explain it some other time. Don't worry. I'm so glad that it's on a time like this that we're discussing Modele Sharafa Yusuf. And we're talking sports journalism and broadcast journalism and everything. And we will do anything. We're in touch with her. Yomi Okpakule has been talking to her. And she says since a declaration has been really tight for her. We're trying to bring her in studio here to say, come sit down with us. Let's also talk about your journey and your plans for the future. But whatever happens, if she makes it here, it will be nice.
She would make it.
And we want to let her know that we support her 110%.
Yeah.
So call it court, no problem. We're not arguing with you people. That's what we are, and we're proudly behind all of our systems, our own, because that's what it is. That's what it should be, you know. So this is a beautiful time to say thank you for watching, thank you for listening. But before we go to Kowojekunle, I know there's one or two things that you want to say.
Yeah.
So you can do it. We still have in our overrunning. We have a few more minutes, so let's enjoy it.
I know that as a broadcaster, many questions will still come in my head, but I can't ask all of them. But there's this one thing I want to ask from you, and that is, what do you think you would best be remembered for? You know, in terms of really, okay, this is my story, Tayo Balogun. What would you best be remembered for, you think?
Your legacy.
I mean, just look at me as an ordinary guy. I mean, a guy who loved life, who enjoyed everything he does, who loves Nigeria passionately, who wants to give the best that there is. And I remember the maxim my father told me, that is, learn to give. It is in giving that you receive, because when you whatever you give, you actually give it to yourself. And I love this country so much that I want to give everything that I can to it. I would be glad if I have the opportunity of impacting positively on the younger generation in terms of the ideals we grew up with, the standard that was set for us, the fact that there was those who are our mentors took a lot of time trying to imbibe culture of tradition, whatever, what is doable, what is not doable. If you see somebody who grew up imbibing our culture, it's not going to be somebody who loves money. It's not going to be somebody who... I've spoken to Zeke, I've spoken to Awa, I've spoken to just about everybody, and these are the memories I cherish. I mean, because I can see that there was a day, sorry if I have a...
No, please go ahead.
There was a day I go to work, I mean, so it can happen only in WMBS, WMBS. I go to work and then my boss told me, you're going to interview Zeke. And I said, yes. I said, yes. I've already collected accounts receivable for you. Here is it. We'll get a crew together, go. We went to Zeke without even informing him.
Where were you and where was Zeke?
Zeke was in Inewi. Wow. I mean, this is New Haven.
Okay.
And
you were in Ibadan?
I went in Ibadan.
So you guys traveled by road?
By road, of course. We traveled by road. And then my driver killed a big snake.
On the road?
So, but when we got to Enugu, they said Zeke was in Nzuka. We kept moving back and forth until we eventually got him. He said, what gave you the impression that I would speak to you? So we know that you're not going to make sure that, you're not going to just turn us away because we came all the way from Ibadan. He said, why didn't you tell me? I said, sorry. I said, okay, but it's too late now. Do you guys have somewhere
to stay?
I said, yes, we have. I said, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. And they went in. The moment we got dry at the next day, I told my cameraman, set up the camera, set up everything. When Zeke came down, I said, what's going on here? I said, for the interview. I said, did I tell you I was did I tell you I was going to? I said, that's the problem with you people. Because I said you should come on today, it means I'm going to talk to you. I said, no. He said he knows and then he started saying, he was saying some things, and my cameraman was recording. He was recording some of the things, and he knew what he was doing. He said, I knew you were recording.
Nnamdi Azikwe.
But I'm telling you, I don't want you to use whatever you have recorded.
Wow.
And that does it.
Yeah.
That's it.
that does it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
So, what was it like interviewing Obafemi Awolowo? MKO Abiola.
Obafemi Awolowo was the type of person that when you look at, is a man that is always very direct. He's a man of very few words. He doesn't embellish things. He's not a gifted orator. He's not a gifted orator. He's always straight to the point. MK Abiola would give you 10 parables in one. We'll give you 10
He
parables.
used a lot of parables.
He'll give you, I mean, things like you cannot scrape somebody's head in his absence. And you know, when we interviewed him, he insisted that I rode with him to Ibadan, from Ibadan to Abeokuta, and we were talking, and he gave me a lot of business ideas. He's the type of person, and when I got to Abeokuta, I said,
Wow.
It was a very good fellow.
Okay, let's talk music and entertainment. The music industry in Nigeria now, like they say, it has blown. But it has always been big. I remember Hotel Bobby. Hotel Bobby hosted the best in the world.
Kaban Bamboo.
You know?
Kaban Bamboo.
Kaban Bamboo.
Bamboo.
Kaban Bamboo.
And
Kaban Bamboo, that became Hotel Bobby.
Floating Buka. A lot of things that Lagos especially have done in the area of entertainment.
Phase 2.
Where was Phase 2?
In
before you get to WAEC,
It was Yaba.
Yaba.
It was Yaba.
Yaba, yes.
I didn't know it though. I just heard. I was not there. But my dad would always tell me.
Afro Evidence is where fella used to play in Queens and Road. Kakadu.
Yeah. You know, so Lagos has always been the entertainment hub of Nigeria.
You can say that again, really. You can.
What was it like for you?
Awesome. Incidentally, I mean, I have two parts to me. The first part when I was in primary school, secondary school, and primary school. The second part was when I went to Unilag for a master's program. And then that was when the things that I always handled after. When I was coming from Akinyomi, in Akinyomi Street, Ladilak, that's where I went.
Ladilak, yeah?
I would walk, and when I go to Kakadu, it's just on the side, they sell leather, pork around there. I would stay, and then you will see them play music, and I would want to go in. But I didn't.
But you were too young.
I would like to go and listen to the music, and that was why I got in love with the music that they were playing. And when fella went to America, and he came back and he started playing at Kakadu, I was serving to the place once or twice, and I saw him fly his shirt. That's when I started flying my shirt.
His polo.
You know, so I mean, and then when I came to Unilag for a master's program, I enjoyed it. I was always going to Phase 2. That was the in thing then. It was a nightclub that everybody who's everybody would go to, and it was quite nice actually. But when you talk in terms of music, I don't know if we are playing music any longer. I mean, I don't know if we are playing music. Because in those days, our music was a music of the struggle.
Consciousness.
Yes. I mean, we were, when I was younger, we were Jimmy Reeve, Cliff Richard, the Beatles, all those things.
Can you remember, now, for Jim Reeves, which song would you say was it for you, Jim Reeves?
This world is not my home.
I'm just passing through. For Cliff Richards?
Lucky Girl. When I was just a lucky boy. When I was just a lucky boy. I never had many. Lucky Boy, sorry.
Lucky Boy, yeah.
I never had many toys, but my father used to say, son, you got more than other boys. Now you may not be good looking. You may not be so rich, but with the lucky lips, you'll always have a pair of lips so true. Oh, lucky lips are always kissing. Lucky lips are always so. But my current
And for the Beatles, you mentioned
at-
those three. That's why I'm
at,
actually.
at this walk, it's been a
It's been a
hard
hard
day's
day's
walk,
work.
and I've been walking like a dog. It's been a hard day's walk. I should be sleeping like a dog. But when I get up to you, I find the things that you do will make you feeling alright. When I'm home. Yeah.
And that is the voice of Tayo Balogun.
But my current craze
Yeah.
is
Wait.
Naira Marley.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Please tell us about it.
Naira Marley, because I hear you late. Yes, I mean, because it's a philosophical, it renders my present philosophy. This world will be what it wanted to be.
Ayelo mayele.
You want it to be hard, it will be hard. But if you want it to be the way it is, so
It's in your hands. It's in your hands.
It's in your hands.
All right, we're still talking music and stuff. So, you mentioned musicians largely from the 60s, and of course, we talked about Naira Marley, who's recent. Are there any old Nigerian artists and their songs that you can tell us to play for you?
You could play and look and laugh.
Look and laugh.
Yes. Because it's satirical. I mean, when you look at the situation and laugh about it, I mean, something close to suffering and smiling. You know, it's Fela for me. I am glad that I got the best of Fela. I was an Ife student when I've always loved him. When I went to Ife, I was the Secretary General of a club, Watu Azuri, which is a Black Power organization, and Fela was our patron. So I was always going to meet him, talk to him, and I got influenced by so many things about him. His light-heartedness, I think I got to love Nigeria more from him, because in Fela's shrine, in Fela's enclave, it's a republic of everybody, where everybody is equal, where there's no, his son is one of the members of the republic. And, I'm usually amazed that one day I went to a shrine, and then...
The new one?
No, not the new one, the old one in...
At Pepo.
Pepo, yes. I was going to enter, and then some girls came. I came with some of my friends, and then the girl said I should take them in. I said, look, I'm not going to stay. I just brought these friends to come. So when I'm coming, I probably would give you my ticket to take you.
To go in, yeah.
So we stayed, we didn't want to stay more than 30 minutes, but we stayed about 2 hours. And then when we were coming out, these guys were still waiting. And as soon as they say, oh yeah, I'd forgotten entirely about them. And the girl said, hey,
you promised, yeah?
No, he just said, he didn't even accuse me. He just came and said, hey, thanks. And I was surprised, and I said, so how come you're still waiting for us? You were waiting. I said, you're a brother, and brothers always keep their words. And I just learned something. I said, wow. I mean, it's the type of thing that the people we expect are the blossoms of the society. They have values that we don't have. Those who look down on them. It's a situation whereby we must learn from each other. One of the things I tell my kids, one is loyalty to your friends. You must never, under any condition, be seen. I mean, I want my family to be known for somebody who is trustworthy, somebody that you know will always have your back once he is on that path. And if we have a country that is run by people who love Nigeria passionately, we'll be the best country in the world because we have everything to go for us.
You used something when you said love.
Pardon?
You said love.
Love. We don't love ourselves.
We don't love ourselves.
We don't.
We don't love ourselves.
I've known Tokunbo Ojekunle for eons now, and when I see him, it's like I'm just saying. It's like I never lost track with him. When he called me, I mean, I said I've been looking for his number, and that's the truth. You know, those of us who are passionate about things, we should get together. Let's create this passion. Let's put Nigeria back on track.
On track. And that is a clarion call to all of you who are really passionate about Nigeria. I think on that note, we can even take that as a sign of that those of us who are passionate should get together and put this thing back on track.
Yeah,
So, but pattern shorts, your pattern shorts for media practitioners, especially the on-air personalities. I have refrained. I don't ever agree that I am an OAP. I am not. I don't. I'm
Look,
sorry.
presenters of radio and television.
Yeah.
One day I was in NTA Ibadan, and then the Alaafin Afoyo called the direct line, and he was complaining about what we did. And I was surprised that called and was complaining about what we did. And I told my boss, I said, look, that's what I've always told you. They call this in broadcasting. When it is broadcasting, it means you are casting to a very broad area. They are talking to prisoners, they are talking to people who are making love, they are talking to pastors, they are talking to people in the kitchen, they are talking to just about a varied group of people. You must take cognizance of the fact that, one, you must compete for their attention, and you must give them what is the truth, because that is what will make them always come back to you. If they know that this is what you stand for, they are going to come respecting you. And that has always been, and I'm glad I had that experience very early in life. And that has always been my guiding principle, to be truthful, to give information as soon as I can, to be loyal to my audience. I mean, because they really are all that there is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can safely say that this is our show. This is the Boom Bar, the Legend series, and we are grateful that you came through, sir.
I'm glad I came.
So happy.
We are happy that we have our words on marble now.
So happy to.
Thank God for technology, because every time we have a message from Jordan, Bayo Oluwake.
Oh.
Good to catch a respected professional colleague in Boom Radio. Regards to Egbon Tayo Balogun.
Thank you very much, Bayo.
That message just dropped now. And thank you very much,
Thank
Bayo
you so
Oluwake. Your support is immense. The way you support us is
Awesome.
Yes, it is awesome. It is awesome. And you push us, you challenge us, and we will fulfill every single thing.
Every.
We will.
Every.
And I'll keep pushing you too.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You know, so the beauty of it is that we streamed these videos live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. It is there for you to watch. We will not edit it. We will leave it as raw as it is, because that's the beauty of what we have done. Hopefully later we'll be able to cut out snippets to push out this agenda. But what we're really trying to do is to celebrate people while we're here, because we know that we're here for a short time. They say I'm morbid, but I'm sorry, I've said it.
You're not.
I'm just being real. But expect a bumper edition that is going to have Shegun Adenuga,
And
our Uncle Shegs,
mhm,
and Tayo Balogun, our
our
Uncle Tayo Balogun, Uncle T, because this one is Uncle T. So I told him this morning, I said, your own T is T. His own is T. I said, this is Uncle T that is coming. You know, even Dolupo was confused at some point. I was like, which Uncle T? I said, no, this one is Uncle T. That one is Uncle T.
And that's the way people call me, actually.
Yeah.
Uncle T.
You know? So this is the beauty of what we're doing, and we're actually grateful to everybody that's been a part of it. A lot of people working behind the scenes. God bless you, God guide you, God keep you. They're coming back, and it's this month because the Eagles are playing this month. Yeah? And we will create a lot of buzz around it. We will make some noise. We want you to be a part of it. Hopefully then, even before then, our dispatch riders would have arrived with everything.
So sad.
You know, so we were able to meet up last week, but these things happened, so we apologize. Please remember that we're going to run a repeat of this at 7 p.m. West African time. Sorry, Nigerian time. But the videos are available. You can watch them. Try to listen and glean. God bless you guys. Thank you very much for being a part of this.
Take care.
And this is not the end.